Hey, what's shaking, gang? Hope everything's going well with everybody out there. We're hanging out early January down on Main Street here. Beautiful day. Haven't been fishing much, but getting ready to go. The worm bite's been good. Blow our tailwater. And we've been goofing around with some of this rad new stuff from Masu out of Rigby, Idaho. Cool cats up there. They have some rad hooks. This is a really cool terrestrial hook. Can't wait to do some stuff on that. They've got some great salt stainless stuff. And then this one's gonna be fun too. We're gonna start using this guy probably on our bullwhips because that English bait hook's been kind of hard to find. But anyway, we're gonna tie up some, we're gonna tie, but we also are gonna do a little bit of gluing. And we're gonna tie up this really rad new little lure. We're gonna tie up some of these Matsu worms with some of our new Elasticore that we've been using, a real stretchy cord, medium length sparkle fiber, barbed Elasticore we call it. Anyway, these have been fishing pretty good for us, so just gonna goof around and show you kind of how it gets done. The pseudo worms that these guys make, you can find them at Hairline, I think, as well. These are not pure silicone like you would find in some of the squirmy wormies and stuff. And so this stuff, even though it's still tough to tie onto a hook, we're going to show you how we do that, is definitely tougher than some of your squirmy wormy stuff. It'll last longer for you. Colors are great, tapers are great. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to start with one of our jig hooks, SRF jig hook in a size 10, large gap, barbless, and we're going to go ahead and put a moonlit tungsten bead on there, slotted in orange on one of our balance pins. And so I've already started with my Semperfli Nano in red. And I'm just gonna lay that pin with our tungsten bead. This is a 3.5 from these guys. And I'm just gonna go ahead and tie that in, strap it on top. The Nano works great for this. The Nano Silk from Semper. It doesn't build up a lot of bulk and it has really great strength. So I can really, strap that pin down without building up a bunch of bulk and build a pretty good frame for what we're gonna do. I like doing a little head cement on this after you build this frame. Some quick drying. Head cement works pretty good there. And so basically, this fly is really simple. We're just gonna put a tail on this guy. I'll go ahead and tie up one of these pink ones. This stuff comes with, I don't know, a dozen or so of these tapered, perfect sized, 15 on a stick, Brandon says. Bug Slinger says 15. And anyway, these guys are tapered perfect. And these have been around for a couple years. We played with them a little bit in the past, but haven't carried them exclusively, well, not exclusive, well, for us. We brought in a whole line of this stuff because it just fishes and it holds up really well. So to start, really basic, we're just gonna thread the pseudo worm onto our barbless hook, and the nice thing is the barbless hooks work great, right, to go through this small diameter. And we're just gonna bring it up on the shank, and now I can put it back in my vise to be able to work it out a little more. I'm gonna stretch that onto the body, up onto the pin, and like I said, this stuff's pretty tough, so you can manipulate it pretty well and not end up with that huge hump and stuff like that like you do on a lot of the squirmies. And I'll stretch this up to where my thread is, and I'm not gonna crank down on this, but versus the squirmy material, I can tie into it. And this is a 12-aught nano. And so I'm just going to kind of strap this down. I'm not pulling a ton of torque. I mean, I kind of know the limits of where if I really cranked on that, I probably could cut it, but I do want to make sure that it's anchored on there pretty well. When we first started fishing these guys, we just tied them like this. We just did the blank jig, we put the worm on there, and we caught fish. But since then, we've been looking for a material that would be similar to straggle string, but not as big as hydro hackle. And so took a long time, but we have sourced a really cool material that we've gotten I don't know, what, dozen colors or more now. I think they're just hitting the site in the next week or two. This stuff has an elastomer core. It stretches really well. Very, very sparse fibers or barbs off of this stuff. And the ability for it to stretch is great because we can do a lot of different stuff with it. In this case, we're going to use it to bind down this plasticized material and keep it smooth. But in other cases, we played with this stuff doing dubbing loops and just using this stuff for the loop. Outstanding. The stretch potential is huge. So let's grab, I don't know, 6 inches of this stuff and cut it off, right? And you can see it's pretty fine. The core isn't real small, but you can stretch it and really do some cool stuff with it. So I'll just take and tie this in. Got a little bump from this stuff, so I'll come up right behind the bead and I'll start there. Build a real durable fly, and that'll fill in some of that gap. Work my thread back through the pseudo worm material. Let's build a good base here. And the rest is pretty simple. The idea on this fly, which is kind of where we've got to with this, is we used to tie and fish what we called a 50-50 worm back in the early days of the shop, which would be a marabou tail, pretty sparse, and then a little shaggy cactus chenille for the body and a bead head, and it fished really good for us with that wavy tail. So we're kind of throwing back a little bit to that on this balance bug. We're giving it some more mass and giving it some more visual content ability. So fish can see this thing from a ways away. It represents a lot of stuff. Represents that annelid cluster that we get with mating worms. Also looks a lot like a shrimp. Looks a lot like a piece of flesh. But you can see how I'm stretching that to keep that body line, you know, in a nice taper. I don't end up with a bunch of bumps going over my tailing material. It's kind of the cool thing about this one. And super durable, plenty of flash, plenty of weight. And I'm just kind of combing those fibers back as we go. Be efficient here, and I'll use the last little wrap. And when I get up behind this bead, I can really pull and cinch that down to get that even diameter that we're looking for. And a really tough bug. This one's a durable guy. I know a lot of guys that are dropping stuff like this through the ice, and I know Brandon's been poking around with that lately. And we're pretty excited probably to get out this weekend and dump some of these, you know, maybe in some natural colors, some browns and stuff. Don't you think, Brandon?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I already caught a few fish on them through the ice, but definitely the potential there, not only on the fly rod, but in the ice world too, is big time.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, you know, the nice thing about them is this thing isn't going to rot off in your box like a squirmy wormy, you know, will. Nothing against squirmy wormies. I caught plenty of fish on them, but the Masu pseudo worms that these guys that we're carrying now, this is definitely the top shelf of this style of worm, I think, you know. Taper's right, the colors are right, they're durable. You're getting a decent value for what, $3.99. You're getting 15 of these. You know, pretty good stuff. Yeah, it's not fly time, but really you can say that, but we wrapped some stuff on it. And not only that, the first San Juan worm tied with vernal or ultra chenille, that wasn't impressive either. So, but what works, works. And these work. So we tie these in reds, obviously. There's two different color reds, the dark red and then the medium red. A couple different colors of pink. These guys also do these bad boys in a lot of earth tones, and we have the elastic core to match. We're closed! Oh, no, never mind. You can come in. So anyway, you can see we've got the combinations for these. I think Brandon will have them on the site as soon as he gets a chance. But check it out. The Elasticore balanced worm. Like it?
Like it.
Cool.